Hey, friends and family, this is Farron at Do the Damn Show, where we're proud to welcome our new sponsor, Primetime Lawn Care. For any and all of your lawn maintenance needs, contact Mr. Jason Such and Primetime Lawn Care at 256-606-3064. And remember, they rest on the seventh day.
As I stand before you, my people, on this day of jubilant celebration, I say to you, will we find the devil in the bushes? No. He will be perched high on the peace tree, devouring the sucking of fruit as the poverty weeds lay waste in the field. So revel not in the fascinations of man and realize the accountability of the just and unjust. For at that moment, may we all be caught up like a rushing wind to meet on that jumbo jet flight we call life.
Welcome to Do the Damn Show. I'm your host, the tatted, the fatted, the one and only Casey Hughes. And with me, old Tatty Fatty, Farron Davis.
It's I surrender. I'll take it. I surrender.
And we have a great special guest today. Who is it?
Well, it just so happens to be the wife of old Tatty Fatty. Her name is Angela Davis, and we're tickled to death to have her prettying up the studio.
Welcome, Angela.
Thank you.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do when I spit at you? Hey, now what you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do when I spit at you? Hey, now what you gonna do? Can I leave my family fortune and still take on no more care? Will the next bed that I take reveal it there? Could you lend your hand for me? Take all my wants and not my needs. I wanna lay my riches up on the other side. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do when it's big at you? Hey, now what you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do when it's big at you? Hey, now what you gonna do?
And we're back. Here we are.
Yes, we are.
Old Tatty Fatty.
So let's clear the air on the old Tatty Fatty. So I recognize I did this to myself.
You did do it to yourself.
Trying to be funny 2 episodes ago. Well, I walked into work the other day and saw one of the supervisors where I work, and he said, "Well, if it isn't old Tatty Fatty."
Yes.
So my first inclination was, "Oh man, that's going to stick." But it took me about 5 minutes to think, "Hey, that means he listened to the show."
Yeah.
So listen, I give permission to anybody that listens to the show to refer to me as old Tatty Fatty, but there'll be a test. So you say old Tatty Fatty to me, I'm going to ask you some questions. And if it's apparent to me then that you haven't listened to the show, I mean, how mad can you be when you did it to yourself?
Yeah,
right?
no, you came up with it. It'd be different if I came up with it, but I didn't.
Yeah.
You did. I mean, I did
Oh,
the
well.
tatted and fatted, so. Angela,
Yeah.
how are you today?
I'm great.
Great?
Yeah, I'm great. I
Great.
really am.
Well, you almost have to be being with him.
He does make life great.
Oh.
Do I need to leave?
No,
I mean, I can step out.
We're
We
not
do get
using
mushy,
cameras, right?
but-
This
Yeah.
is just sound, right?
Yeah, it's just sound. That's all it is. So we've got Angela with us today, and for one, I'm excited about it. You know, it's always fun to get the other half story. You know, we're still working on Hayden. She's super nervous about hearing herself.
We're gonna get her in
and
here. We're gonna
she's-
get her in
Oh, yeah, she's closer than she's ever have been. So.
Yeah.
it is
She's-
unnerving hearing yourself in your headphones, though.
See, I like myself too much. I'm my favorite thing to talk about, so it doesn't bother me. But no, when I first started, it's weird to hear yourself talk back. So
Well, I've never really liked my own voice, but hearing it here with our compression and these really nice mics and everything, then all of a sudden I kind of do, because it sounds way better in my head than. So if I could just always have this, like in all of life,
yeah.
Just always have a mic like this that's hot in front of me wherever I go, I'd be so much more confident.
That's what when we first started, a guy at work, he was like, "You sound so professional." I was like, "Well, it's 80% Mike, it's 20% me. That and I smoke a pack of cigarettes a day, so it just kind of automatically adds that that deeper tone to it.
Yeah.
So
Makes you sound like my grandma.
yeah, exactly. I take a V8 and a Marlboro Red and a soft pack. That's West Virginia at its finest.
Yeah.
So, Angela, you're with us, and you want to share a little bit about your story,
Yeah.
right? And your philosophy on things.
Yeah. We
So-
want to talk about mental health today.
Mental health. Hey,
Yeah.
I'm right there. Hey, I'm game.
Yeah.
I'm there for it. So,
Yeah.
you just start us out. You start us out
Okay.
on mental health.
Well, I've got it all. I've got depression, anxiety, and ADHD, and I've struggled with it since I was about 12 years old, and didn't know what it was, and therapy wasn't available then.
Yeah.
It was available, but it wasn't talked about.
Yeah.
It was kind of hush hush.
Yeah, you were a lesser person
Yeah.
than if you went to
Exactly.
therapy.
Exactly. If you ask for help,
Yeah.
Can I interject?
No.
For the record,
No.
we haven't been together since she was 12. So anybody out there right now that's elbowing your partner and snickering and saying, "Well, of course she's got a depression and anxiety issues here with him." Okay, this was
Yes.
This was in the PTF era. Okay, the pre-tatty fatty
Actually-
era.
But actually, I met Farron when I was 12 years old.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
the
shoot.
first time I ever met him. So
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
I think I might have-
yeah,
Wait a minute.
I actually might have just messed up.
it's
then.
all comes
Yeah.
together.
Full circle.
No, I have a family history of mental health and stuff like that, but I had the, I guess you call it teenage angst. When you
Yeah.
get in middle school, that age, nothing makes you happy, and everybody's opinion of you makes so much of a difference in your life.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
staple.
Yeah, so I actually, and I had to share this with Farron before I come on the air and told this, but I actually tried to kill myself. Just from it was depression, but I didn't have a label for it. I just
Yeah.
felt horrible. And now, I'd been a Christian, I believed, but that wasn't my first line of defense, from these mental thoughts and stuff like that. But yeah, I struggled with that, and until I had my daughter, I was 25 years old, and I had postpartum, just severe postpartum, immediately after I had her.
Yeah.
And they put me on antidepressants. Never took them before. I felt like a normal human.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And where's they been all my life? Well, I'm just going to go through this whole story real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
But I took those for a couple years, and I had a friend, really sweet friend, but she was very legalistic Christian. She would invite me to church, and I would say no. But then one day I decided I'd go with her, and there's a longer story to that. But she talked to me about these antidepressants I was taking, and if you had enough faith, yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't
had
need
enough
those.
faith, you wouldn't need that. So I listened to it, and I ended up flushing my pills down the toilet. Quit cold turkey.
Wow.
Well, you can imagine how that went.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was probably, I'd say about 4 years later, I'd gone through a really rough patch in my marriage, and then within 6 months, my dad had passed away. And I remember standing at my office one day. I just wanted to melt in the floor. If I could have melted, everything would have been better.
So that 6 months from when you flushed her pill?
No,
Okay.
that was about 3 years.
Okay,
3 or
gotcha,
4 years.
gotcha.
Yeah, no. I was living on that Jesus high. That
Oh, yeah.
unattainable thing that we tell ourselves we can
Yeah.
stay there forever.
Yeah.
The mountaintop experience.
Yes,
Yeah.
It's
mountaintop
never,
experience.
Never meant to be permanent.
Yeah,
No,
no.
no. But actually, I'll get back to that. But that mountaintop experience led to one of my most severe anxiety attacks I'd ever had too. Because I was telling Varen about this. I was in this mode of, I'm going to do everything God wants me to do. Everything. Do. And I felt like I had been disobedient. I felt like I didn't really have the opportunity to do exactly what I thought I should have done. And I went home and I beat myself up over it, and I broke out in the hives from a panic attack. just anxiety, everything. And I didn't put two and two together till years later that that's not the way he wants us to live.
Right.
No.
You know, he doesn't want us to live in this turmoil.
Yeah.
But back on the depression stuff, I got back on the antidepressants, and I was doing much, much better. But I still had severe anxiety. And I still, to this day, I take anxiety medication now. But I think I was probably 30-ish, 35 maybe, somewhere in that frame. I had started making cakes. I was working full-time, making cakes. Pretty much a full-time job there, too.
Making like beautiful, like professional sculpted art. I mean, it wasn't just cakes to eat, it was art.
Yeah.
You
But I
getting
did this-
hired for big events and stuff, yeah.
Yeah,
What-
I did it for about 15 years.
Did you do that at home or?
Yeah,
did you do
I was an illegitimate caker.
It? Yeah, I did that for a while too. I was a legal caker.
No,
For a
I
while.
did.
Oh, you did it too? Like the fondant and all that stuff?
Oh yeah, I used to work at a corner bakery.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I used to ride my bike,
Maybe we
like my
can do
motorcycle.
a cake
I'd show up
auction.
cutting all to make cakes.
We
Oh,
do a cake
wow.
auction sometime. We'll
Yeah.
together have a cake
Yeah.
show. No, but no, I was running myself ragged. We had just talked about this before, you know, and I was running myself ragged, and I decided, you know, I think I would become the band booster president also at my daughter's high school. So I started doing that. I had all three things going at the same time. That really, one of those would stress you out some days.
Yeah,
And I started drinking to escape. And a little bit of beer. Got to be a lot of bit of beer. And my medication wasn't working, and I didn't realize that. And but I wasn't in counseling. And I self-medicated with mostly alcohol, but I, you know, wasn't opposed to if we had extra pain pills laying around. I might take a pain pill just to escape, just
Yeah.
to get
That's,
away.
unfortunately, and that's so common. So many people do that.
Yeah,
and that's how it starts. Really, I mean, that's during I look back through my life, and I had a drinking problem for a very long time, all the way back to high school. But as I got older, it was more so like it wasn't every day, but it was every time I needed to escape.
yeah,
Every time I needed to escape, that's what I would do. And then those started compiling.
yeah,
And those days started. So it'd be, you know, it might be Monday and Friday. Well, then it was Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
yeah.
And then it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. And then I'm grilling on Sunday. And it's like, well, hell, I'll have a couple drinks while I'm grilling.
You can't grill without drinking.
No, you can't.
If you're a drinker.
Yeah. And I mean,
Yeah.
it just, but it is that escape. That goes to everything,
Mm-hmm.
every kind of substance or workout, you know, being a workaholic and everything, and it's an escape.
Well, and so many people from the outside looking in, okay? Because I have, not to disrupt your flow,
No.
sweetheart, but I've had depression in my adult life that's, you know, been treated with counseling and medication as well. But only because of different circumstances. I never had any kind of substance addiction, you know, alcohol or drugs or prescription medicine or anything like that. Only not because, you know, I did something right and y'all didn't, just because that never happened to me.
Right.
But people like me that have never actually experienced that, it's really easy for us sometimes, like I said, outside looking in, to never consider the fact that maybe somebody that's addicted to alcohol or, you know, some other like pain medicine, but that's not why they're taking it. Maybe it's because they were so depressed and were self-medicating. You know, it's too easy for us to think, oh, they probably used to just party so much
Yeah.
and they got addicted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No,
No.
I fully believe that the majority, if not all, addictions, substance abuse addictions, can be tied back to mental health.
Yeah, and I've had conversations with Hayden before. This is my own personal opinion. I think it's a strain. Like, I think there's not that I think everybody can fall victim to it, but I think there are people that are born with that strain that it's a natural thing. It's a natural craving thing. Because I went to those anonymous meetings, and that's one thing I learned in there, is that it's this phenomenal craving deal. And so that was my thing. After I learned that, I started piecing puzzle pieces together. I'm like, oh, dude, it's right. Like it's, it's almost like an allergic reaction. So I'll have one or two, and then it's this phenomenal craving it makes you want more and more and more and more. And it's almost like gluttonous when it comes to food. It's like Fisher. He's 9, and with his Down syndrome, he doesn't know when to quit eating. Like he'll just eat. He'll just eat and eat and eat and eat and eat and eat and eat, and he'll clear out a bag of chips in 45 seconds. I mean, he'll just sit there and eat whatever he can, and it's part of his genetics. It's part of his DNA. It's part of who he is with the Down syndrome and the extra chromosome. That I started piecing those things together. I'm like, well, alcoholism and addiction, it's not that far fetched of an idea for it to actually be a strain or a strand that connects people with that, because a lot of them are super creative. A lot of them are very, very, I don't want to say intellectual. I just want to say very, like Walt Disney, visionaries, things like that. And a lot of times they have a hard time tying all that stuff together. But just about everyone that I've met that had a very, very hardcore drug addiction was an insanely creative person. Like on many, many different levels.
I can see that. Another thing too is, if you're depressed or you're really anxious and you feel like there's nothing you can do about it, and then you have a couple of drinks and it takes a little of the edge off, then all of a sudden it feels like, well, wait, this is something I can do about it.
Yeah, you go chasing it.
Yeah.
It's like meth. I've never done meth, but I've had my fair share of experiences in life. But that's I've known a lot of people that's came out of that addiction, and it's that first time. It's literally people that would never have done something that hardcore in their life. They did it that one time, and it was like, holy crap!
They got relief.
I got relief from the pressures of life and everything else, and I'm on this. And so you go chasing it, like you just chase it. Even with prescription drugs.
Yeah.
There's people that do that, and that's like, when your body gets accustomed to so many levels of it, well, you're going to try to chase that again, and that's the dangers of it. But I mean, there is a balance there with all of that. So I didn't mean to sidetrack too far, but
no.
It goes.
Y'all chime in whenever. Well, with the drinking, I spent a lot of time with God, begging Him.
Yeah.
Do something about this. Please do something about this.
Yeah.
And I'm a very visual person, and I won't get into my whole home life and all that. That's not for today. But I just wasn't happy, and that was my escape. And when I pray, I picture God and Jesus. And the funny thing is it's always that blue-eyed, blonde-haired Jesus that we always. I told Farron not long ago. I said, I want to have an accurate depiction of Christ, in my mind. So whenever I go to the convenience stores and see these, young Middle Eastern guys, I think, that's probably what Jesus is.
That's more Jesus than blue eyes and blonde hair. I promise you that.
Yeah.
I don't think Jesus ever even saw a surfboard.
No, I don't think he ever went to Germany.
Yeah.
But yeah, in my prayer life, my visual, I was literally in a cave. It was just me and Jesus in a cave. And had some more marital issues and ended up in marriage counseling. And that didn't go over real well, but I continued counseling and got in with the doctor, got some medications changed, and got leveled out the way I needed to be. And slowly that cave turned into an open field. And I got out of that dark place, but it wasn't overnight.
Yeah, time.
But I was still drinking.
Yeah.
And it was the anxiety at that point. And so I remember this was just last year. And if your mama listens to this, she'll understand. But we went on I went on vacation with his mom and the boys and everybody, and we'd been tied up in the van going to Atlanta. My anxiety was out the roof. I thought, if I don't have a beer, I'm not going to make it. I'm just not going to make it.
Yeah.
So that was really a turning point. I thought, this is not right.
Yeah.
No, I don't need this that bad.
Yeah.
So I talked to my therapist, talked to my doctor, and I don't take, I'll just say I take Buspar. It's not a, mood altering type of thing like a Valium. It doesn't make you drowsy and all that. But there was no edge to take off after that.
Wow.
I'm not a doctor, not a pharmacist. This may not work for everybody.
Hey, but it works for you.
But it worked for me. And I think my biggest hope is if somebody's listening to this, that if they find themselves in similar situations, that they'll just find something,
Yeah, I mean, that's
healthy.
I can't remember what the name of it is, but it's the generic version of Zoloft.
Yep.
That's what I take.
Yep. So it starts with an S. That's my daughter takes that.
So, I mean, I don't have to, but it's one of those things where I spend a majority of my life in a position of that, God can cure all things. Mm-hmm. Even that, even the chemical imbalance or whatever the hell it is. I'm not a very medical savvy person, and it destroyed who I was. I mean, and some people look at it, and you'll get different people of faith that'll go, well, if you love God enough, and what you were talking about earlier, if you have
But
deep enough faith,
they don't say about that for diabetes,
right?
Okay, so
blood pressure.
Oh well, they do. Some of them do. Some
I
of the
know
radicals
some
do, man.
do, but-
Like it's crazy.
But
Okay.
there's no stigma attached to that.
Right,
To your
exactly.
insulin.
all right. So this is a passionate subject for me, and I've been doing my best because I didn't want to let the passion run away, and then this turn into me talking over everybody and me talking the whole time, right?
I'll cut you off.
But now I gotta.
See,
Yeah, you did cut me off. Now I gotta. All right. When you, Casey, when you asked me to step in and be the co-host, and I was very honored to do that, very excited. And Angela told me right away. She said, if there's ever a time that y'all think is a good time, I'd like to come on there and share my experiences with depression and anxiety as a Christian.
yeah,
And and this is out of Angela's comfort zone, okay? Mm-hmm. So she's doing this because she really feels pulled by God, led by God to do this.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
thank you for stepping out of your comfort zone and doing this, sweetheart.
Doing the damn show. Right?
Yes,
That's
doing
right.
the damn show. But this is what I want to say about this now, and I've been waiting for us to get to this point. Depression, anxiety, those kinds of things. There may be more than one reason for it, more than one cause for it, right? But it's a biological thing, just like what you guys started talking about. Other conditions, name them all. Diabetes, whatever,
High blood pressure.
high blood pressure, whatever.
cholesterol.
Listen, this is the thing, all right? The majority of the time, when somebody tells you, well, if you just believed more, you just prayed about it more, well, they haven't had that, okay?
Yeah.
They haven't gone through it, so
Yeah.
they don't understand what's going on.
Yeah,
Biological things, can be rough, right? And usually are something that we can't just think away or will away, and sometimes we can't just pray away.
right.
But God has blessed us in this modern age with more knowledge of things that He created. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Our doctors and nurses and pharmacists and medicines, are they evil things?
No, every good gift comes from above.
Thank you very much. They are not evil things, right? And so, Casey, I'm going to put you on the spot. You believe that God can cure cancer?
I believe it has the ability to. Yeah.
Okay. But have you ever known anybody that loved God and still died of cancer?
Oh yeah, all the time.
You think it's because they didn't believe He could heal them?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
See, we don't know.
Matter of fact, my dad, love you, Pop. He said he was going to quit praying for people because the last 4 people he prayed for with situations like that, they died.
But here's the thing, man. We don't know the mind of God.
Yeah.
And anybody that thinks that they even know the smallest little part of the mind of God, they're a fool.
Yeah.
We do not know the mind of God. God can do anything He wants, and God does do anything He wants. and he does it all the way that he wants to do it.
We get so wrapped up in that selfish thing that we've talked about in previous shows about human people that we forget. And Tom Waits, I love Tom Waits' music. He said it the best, and it's a philosophy that I've had for the last couple of years, is this is not my home, I'm just passing through.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want a premature exodus. I love my kids. I enjoy my life. I enjoy doing this. But this is not my home. I'm just passing through. Mm-hmm. So you get a question a lot with people, and they go, well, if your God's so great, then why did my uncle die of cancer?
Yeah.
And I'm an asshole. My first thought is, well, I mean, he smoked for 35 years.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like, you can't smoke for 35 or 40 years and not think that there's going to be some kind of consequence associated with that. So I don't know why it didn't choose to happen. But I can tell you that this is not my home. I'm just passing through. I'm not supposed to. I'm not going to be here any longer than he wants me to be here anyway.
Right, and this is the thing. We don't question God. Okay, faith and belief in Christ and God is about believing no matter what.
Right.
It's about believing when you feel like it, and it's about believing when you don't feel like it. Mm-hmm. It's about deciding to believe. Right.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Could God miraculously take away my depression and me not have to take Cymbalta anymore that I've been taking for the last 5 years? Yeah. But he didn't. Now, am I mad at him? No, I'm not.
Right.
I'm not. And I understand if some people do get that way sometimes. I'm not judging someone that does. But I'm not mad at him. I don't trust him any less. I don't believe that, well, maybe he isn't all powerful after all. None of that. Because I trust him.
Yeah.
Right? And who created medicine? You know, somebody can, men did that in the lab. All right, well, who created the men? And who created the stuff that they used to make the medicine?
Yeah,
Come on.
People forget that everything comes from the earth.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everything does. That these wooden walls, this metal desk, all of that stuff is materials that are from the earth, and it's just compounded in different ways to make different things.
Mm-hmm. Well, and anybody that wants to say to me that, well, if you had enough faith or if you believed enough in God, then you wouldn't have to go to those pills every day. Well, this is what I got to say to you. I do believe in God, and I do have enough faith, and I believe that God blessed us with medical knowledge. God blessed us with doctors and nurses. God could snap his fingers, not even snap his fingers, think about snapping his fingers, and I could be healed. Or God could say, here you go, I bless you with this with this medicine and with these doctors and with these counselors that you can talk to.
Yeah.
The same way, if somebody has diabetes and insulin management is going to help them to be happier and live a normal life, anybody that says to that person, you really should stop the insulin and just trust God more, anybody that says that to them is not looking out for them in their best interest. Mm-mm. Okay, they have some agenda, and they're not loving that person the way God loves that person. God provided the knowledge and the insulin management. Okay, yeah. Did you notice that I never said this is an imperfect analogy?
Well, I'm about to give you. I said that to say this to help put this in perspective from where you're coming from, as far as people of faith and people of Christianity that say that you don't need these things. And I'm going to use the same example, person-wise, as what they always do, and that's Paul. You know, Paul, not only did he pray 3 times, God remove this thorn from my side, and he says God chose not to do it, so I guess I'll live with it, basically. Mm-hmm. Now, that's paraphrased. That's not how he wrote it, but there is a little bit more of a story to Paul than what people realize. On his journey to Rome, basically, he turned himself in to die. That's why he was going back to Rome. Mm-hmm. Through that journey, Luke was allowed to travel with him on the ship. Now, Luke, as we know, was a physician. So on this journey, Paul became so ill, and it states, Paul became so ill that Luke could not provide for him. So this is a man who has devoted his life to God, devoted his life to the mission of Jesus Christ, devoted his life to planning churches, all those letters, the Corinthians, the Ephesians, all of those letters, planning all of these beliefs of Christ, was on this journey in a position that I dare say that God nor Luke could heal him from. So on this journey, this is just a brief history. I'm not going to go all the way down that rabbit hole. But at the time, during this time, Roman centurions, they were in charge of the prisoners. And if you lost a prisoner, you paid with your life. That was the cost of losing a prisoner. Paul had enough loyalty and respect with who he was and his nature in God that when he became sick with Luke, he's traveling with his best friend, right? Traveling with his buddy, that they asked the centurion if they could go to land for 2 weeks to allow his friends to take care of him while he were there. And they did. The centurion let him go. Didn't even send a guard with him because he believed that Paul would come back. He believed he would return to the ship. So the centurion offered his own life, understanding that Paul was going to do this. But this is the man who, if anybody could have, if anybody was going to be healed by God, I dare say it would have been Paul, right?
Yeah, I'm not going to say Paul didn't have enough faith and it was his fault.
Right.
I'm not going to say that.
And we're not going to say that Luke wasn't a smart enough physician that he couldn't have done it. Whoever he went to, it doesn't clarify who he went to, but he knew that if I could just get to these people, they can help me. So it wasn't something that God chose to fix. It wasn't something that Luke could fix, and he still left. And nobody's going to look at him and go, well, you don't believe hard enough.
Yeah.
You don't believe enough. I would love to see somebody stand in front of Paul. If you've never really, people a lot of say, but be like Paul. Everybody talks about Paul. He wrote 3/4 of the damn New Testament. Yeah, everybody's going to talk about Paul. But I would love to see somebody stand in front of Paul and go, you know what? If you'd have just believed a little bit more, dude, you probably wouldn't have had to go.
Yeah.
You would have been okay. And this is the same man who months later, they became shipwrecked. And they were stranded on an island, and the first thing that happened, he went to pick up some wood to throw it on a fire, and a snake bit him. Yeah. And it was the type of snake that the natives on the island said, oh, he's a dead man. He's a dead man. You don't come back from that. He had no problems. So if he can be healed from the snake bite, but he couldn't be healed from the sickness, we don't understand what God is.
Yeah.
We don't understand his motives. We don't know what happened while he was on shore. But that's my answer to those people who have that issue with, if you'll just believe harder, you won't have to take Zoloft.
Another example that's really specific to what we're talking about in the Old Testament is Elijah.
Yeah.
Because in 1 Kings, like 17, 18, 19, 1 Kings, that whole story that we've heard so many sermons about, when Elijah confronted the prophets of Baal and challenged them.
Yeah.
Remember? And he said, I tell you what, let's you call down fire from Baal to burn, the sacrifice on your altar. And, you see what'll happen. And I mean, they begged and cut themselves and did all this stuff. The Bible says nothing happened. And then Elijah said, okay, my turn. Hey, how about you pour all this water all over mine? You know, he was almost like taunting them.
Yeah.
Because he had so much faith. He knew he was doing what God said to do, so that meant God was going to do it.
Yeah.
And then he prayed, and bam, everything was consumed.
Yeah.
The sacrifice, the altar, the water, all this stuff. So we were talking about a mountaintop experience, right? Well, that was a mountaintop experience. It had to be. I mean, you're there and you do all that, and God comes through that way, and proves to everybody without a shadow of a doubt that what you're saying is true. I mean, how can you not, victory,
Yeah.
And then after that, Elijah runs away. He the king and queen find out what he did, and they put out an order to kill him. And he gets scared.
Yeah, and runs.
And gets so depressed that he prays to die. That's called depression.
Yeah.
And then he an angel comes and tends to him. An angel didn't come to him and say, well, Elijah, I thought you were supposed to be a man of faith. And if you prayed enough and believed enough, you wouldn't feel this way. No, he told him to eat and rest. Because Elijah was exhausted, depressed, falling asleep. The next thing that happens, he finds himself in a cave, right? God comes to him, same thing. At first, he indirectly ministers to him, by encouraging him to eat and rest. And then he directly ministers to him by, dare I say, counseling.
Yeah.
All right?
Hey, God talking it through.
Yeah, God says to Elijah, so why are you here? Now, I don't think any of us, the three of us in this room, believe that God didn't know.
Yeah.
Why? So why did he ask him? What happens when you go to counseling?
Yeah.
And God's like counseling him and then encouraging him, and the classic textbook steps that we study now in in psychology and stuff about steps of characteristics of depression and how to get out of that. Besides the medicine, because it's not just medicine,
Right.
right? But besides the medicine, the steps. These are the steps basically that we can see that God walks Elijah through, and then sets Elijah back up to go back out and do what he's got to do. Anoint a king, anoint his replacement.
Yeah.
So we got an example there
Yeah.
of and God never said, Elijah, why do you not believe in me? It wasn't like that.
And the problem is when we have these situations and stories in our life, and these people interject into it, they're operating out of what's been taught to them. It's tradition at that point,
Exactly.
and we don't realize the harm that it does. I've been on that side of it, in my life, but I begin to understand. Hey, I'm only doing this out of habit. I'm only doing this because it's what somebody taught me. Doesn't mean it's right.
Well, on the vein of counseling and therapy and stuff, I said that earlier about, when I was 12, 13 years old, going through roughest part of my life. And when she started going through stuff, I got her in counseling right away.
Yeah.
She wasn't on medication until later in life, but I didn't really know, but I knew I didn't have the equipment to handle, what she was going through.
Yeah.
But
And often, even if we do have the equipment, they don't want to listen to us anyway.
true that.
Yeah, Dad don't know shit.
But yeah, I'd always heard counseling this, therapy that, and I'll be honest, I thought it was a bunch of new age. Somebody was going to come at you, with this stuff that was not Christian.
Yeah,
Well, where I go, and I don't have to plug for them, but my therapist will pray with me.
yeah,
It's not a church. It's,
Yeah.
It's a insurance taking therapy place here in Decatur.
Yeah.
And if anybody needs a referral, I'll be glad to talk to them.
yeah. And so, I used to know this guy, and I'm not going to call him out, but my kids ain't going to counseling unless they're Christ counselors. And I'm like, dude, that's fine. You know what I mean? It's great, because I do believe where two or more are gathered in my name, I'm present. I believe that. But if your Christ counselors telling your kid to get over it and there ain't nothing wrong with them,
Yeah.
there's a problem with that, man. So,
I wonder if your kid breaks their arm, are you going to take them to the nearest ER, or are you going to find the Christ, the Christian ER?
First Bethel ER.
Right, because if we're talking about because we're talking about biological things.
Lawrence County Baptist.
I don't pretend to be any kind of expert, right?
Right.
But I do understand that some depression, anxiety, some emotional situations come from traumatic experiences.
Yeah.
PTSD is a real thing.
Yeah.
Children who go through types of abuse and that sort of thing, and it causes emotional health issues, right? And that's real. There's also some people who've never gone through anything like that. I'm one.
Yeah.
I was blessed. I had a sheltered life. It was a very religious family, and everybody loved me. And as far as I know, I've never been abused.
So
I never suffered any great tragedies. None of that stuff.
On that point, real quick, I'm curious. What was your childhood like?
My childhood was pretty normal. We had a little bit of. My dad had some pain issues, and he was actually disabled. He had broke his back when I was a little baby, and I grew up with a little struggle there. But as far as loving family, whole, there was no abuse, except.
So it wasn't like overly chaotic.
No, not at all.
That's where I was.
Wait,
going
what'd you
with it.
say? In case
I was
somebody
fixing to
else
say a
wonders.
mama throwing yo-yos.
Oh, because you said except, and then I know there's going to be somebody besides me thinking, wait, except
Wait,
what?
what?
Except what?
Except for that time I got my head crashed through the door.
Yeah.
No. My mother and father never laid a hand on us either. And we were well behaved because they were so disappointed in us.
I'm gonna tell you, man, disappointment hurts a whole lot worse than getting my ass tore up. Son, I'd punish you, but I'm just really disappointed. Oh,
Well,
Come
there's a
on.
big difference in punishing your child so that you're teaching them lessons and raising them the right way. There's a big difference in that and abusing. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Very
We're talking
much.
about. We're not talking about good parenting,
Right.
strict parenting. We're not saying that's abuse. We're just,
Yeah.
but abuse is abuse.
Yeah.
But see, the point I was trying to make was I didn't go through any of that, and yet in my late 20s and early 30s, it varied for me. I had a period of time when I was constantly worried about everything, and stressed out about everything, and had a real short fuse. And a doctor, medical doctor, same doctor that was helping me with an injury left over from the Army, suggested to me anti-anxiety medication. And at first I thought, why would I need something like that? He said, just give it a try. I did, and it took about a week or so, and all of a sudden, it was much easier to put things into perspective.
Yeah.
And to say, wait, okay, this isn't unmanageable. There doesn't have to be chaos. We can figure this out. And so, I became, very thankful to God for that. It didn't make me less of a Christian or more worldly because I was dependent on that instead of having more faith.
Yeah.
And there were times in my life then that, mostly out of a lack of education, 2 different times I just quit taking it cold turkey. Wasn't doctor managed to taper off of it or anything like that, and had some really bad rebound situations.
Do what my doctor told me, Dr. Malcolm Hendricks. He said, "You taking your meds?" And I said, "Yeah, I was trying to cut down on them just to see if it's that working or if I'm better." And he said, "You want me to do my job, or you want to do my job for me?"
Yeah.
And I said, I'd prefer you to do your job, especially since how much I pay to come." And that was just because I'm that blunt.
Yeah.
And so when he said that, I'm like, you know what? He's got a good point. Like, I don't know shit. I walked around for 37 years without it and was a wreck.
That's one of my, I won't say it's a fear per se, but a concern, I'll put it that way, is that, I've been on probably 7 or 8 different types of antidepressants over the years. And a lot of them have just quit working. Some of them had side effects, and I quit taking them for that reason. But I'm always vigilant, is it still working right? Because Farron said, some of it's situational, but I know mine's clinical because I don't have any situations going on right now.
Yeah.
It's fine. But I still have some really bad days.
Yeah.
And
Hell, me too.
And you guys, I don't know how that works for y'all, but I know women, we have, once a month, we're going to have a bad day, at least one bad day.
Well, and a lot of times that means we do too. But anyway, go ahead.
But one thing I have run into lately is, and I started clocking it because I thought, I don't want to get down this, negative thinking, because that's not my personality. I don't think bad. But I'll just be sitting there and all these negative thoughts just start bubbling up. And I'm like, nope, that's not me. That's not me. And I'll be very honest here. I think I've told Farron this before. We have authority over that stuff.
Yeah.
In Christ, we have authority over that. Mm-hmm. We take captive those thoughts. And I just proclaim the name of Jesus and, tell myself, or God tells me, whatever you want to call it, but it's temporary. This is just a temporary situation, and it will pass. And
so
knowing that I'm taking care of other things too. It's not. I'm not saying people that are not getting help should just take that train of thought, but
so I'm a very
it's both. It's both.
Yeah. It is.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I'm a very musically oriented person, and so I was driving one day and I just had a shit day. It's just like, my life sucks, and my life didn't suck. It was great, but it's like God hit me in the head with a baseball bat and goes, "What are you listening to?" And I forget what I was listening to, but and it was, you have the choice to set the mood. So if you're down and you want to continue to go down, keep listening to that.
Yeah, yeah.
If you want to change, now he didn't tell me I had to listen to Christian. He didn't tell me I had to listen to Christian music.
Right.
He just told me to change the tempo.
Something upbeat.
And so what happened for me then was I began to dive into my emotional driven person and go, well, shit, if I got the power to change my mood based on music choices to help get out of that. Now I was still having a shitty day,
right?
But I felt better about my shitty day because I was listening to, upbeat stuff. And so what it did is it triggered that in my brain and go, if I've got the authority to do that and I've got the choice to do that, what else do I have the choice to do? So when I get in those moods, I do that exact same thing. Now, I've said it before, I'm not the guy that's going to pray with you at a gas pump. Just don't ask me. I'm not going to do it. And I don't say, in the name of Jesus, take this shit away from me. I don't do that. But I do have a very open conversation with myself and go, okay, we're emotionally driven beings. What is emotionally driving me right now? Well, I'm this, and this, and this. And a lot of times my first question is, did you take your meds this morning?
Yeah.
Did you forget to take them yesterday? Is that why you're off kill? Is that why you're not who you normally are? And I started doing those in internal moral checks, inventory checks of myself. And I say that to say this about counseling. Counseling mixed with the right medical assistance is life-changing, because the counseling begins to help you to discover what the root is. The root wound, because everybody's got a root wound.
Yeah.
Everybody has one. But a lot of times we don't want to do that, because then we're going to go in and we're going to lose pieces of ourselves. And it's so crazy to me. Like, I see people, I know people that are just in terrible relationships, terribly abusive relationships, men and women, whether it be verbal, emotional, physical, mental, or whatever. But it's like they're tied to it. I'm tied to this and I can't get out. And you go, well, why don't you want to get out? Well, for the lack of better words, they go, well, I'll lose a part of myself. And it's the same thing when we do a moral inventory of ourselves and we start to look at those root causes. Well, I don't want to lose that. And it's ass backwards. It's psychologically speaking, it's ass backwards. But it's been a part of us for so long that we wouldn't know what to do without it.
Yeah.
But when you begin to discover that, and you have the medical backing with it, I'm going to tell you, I don't know how to explain it any other way than it's life-changing. Like, it is absolutely life-changing.
And what you just said makes a lot of sense, okay? We don't have to pick just one thing. God's provided more than one thing, all right? Faith in God and counseling from the right positive source, Christian source, or otherwise, right positive source, and medication that God has blessed us with. All those things work very well together. It doesn't have to be one or the other. You don't have enough faith, you take medicine, or it's not about having faith. Right. It's about medicine. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They work together. They're not opposed.
Yeah.
And if you are a person, and when I say you, this applies to everybody, anybody listening. If you are a person and you do struggle with maybe some depression or some anxiety or something like that, maybe yours isn't horrible, or maybe it is. But if you truly believe that, well, if I just talk to God more and believe in God more, it'll fix this, and then you do that and it works, hallelujah.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not saying it doesn't ever work.
Yeah.
But what we're saying is that's wonderful, but don't turn around then and try to force. We're all individuals.
So
don't force that on someone else and say to someone else, you shouldn't be going to counseling and taking that medicine. If you just don't have enough faith in God.
You can't put a timeline on somebody's season, which is what people try to do.
Yeah.
When I started speaking at Shags, my first thing I would tell them, I used to love saying, I still drink, smoke, and cuss and run with those who do. Well, now I have to take drinking off the list. So I still smoke and cuss and run with those who do. Really and truly, I don't even run with them anymore. So I still drink, or I still smoke and cuss.
I get out of breath way too quick. So
But it's one of those things that was 2 years ago. So over the course of 2 years, God's taken 2 of those subjects out of that spiel that I gave.
Yeah.
So you can't put a timeline on somebody's season. You can't look at somebody and go, well, you should be over this by now. Really? Mm-hmm. You think I should be over this by now? Let me tell you what you should be over by now. Telling me that shit. That's what you should be over by now.
And I believe that goes right back to what you said about Paul.
Yeah.
Okay? Paul's thorn, according to Paul in the scripture, whatever that thorn in his side was, it didn't ever go away.
He said he prayed 3 times for it to be removed.
But he never... It never shook his faith.
No, never.
And we don't see any evidence anywhere that says that. So, his buddy Luke, the physician, offered him this salve or this medicinal help. And Paul said, hell no, I'm not doing that.
Right.
Because I only trust in God. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So, if you want to talk about biblical examples, we've got a great New Testament one there and a great Old Testament one there in Elijah. And the idea that all of the things that God has created and blessed us with, including common sense, the idea that those things can't all work together in harmony is silly.
It's very much so. It's laughable.
Yeah, and to deny something that might genuinely help you or another person to try to prove some point, or
Right.
it's not Christ-like.
Yeah. So let me ask you, is 70 years old too old to not take medication anymore? Like if you woke up and you're 70 years old and you're like, oh, hell, I don't have to take this stuff anymore. I feel amazing. Would you think that's too old?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
So and that's what a lot of people don't realize when it comes to the medication side and everything else, is you can't tell somebody how long their season is because God's still working on it. I believe if people are seeking a genuine relationship with this God that I seek in my life, and we allow him to make himself parent, he begins to work then.
Yeah.
He begins to work. But we can't, hell, it took him 10 years to pave the fucking belt line in that indicator, and you look at it and go, I'm stuck, and they've got it tore up again, adding lanes down it. Why does this got to take 10 years? Well, man, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why it takes that long. So it may take 20 years. It may take 25 years. It may take 30 years. But if I do know that if we're constantly seeking that relationship on a level that makes sense to us, things begin to become apparent in our life, and things begin to break off and shake off.
Yeah.
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 It's I really appreciate, Angela, that you came on here and you wanted to talk about this, because I think that you had some great things to say. I know that Casey had some great things to say. I hope I helped. I don't know, though, that me and Casey would have ever, without you approaching us, said, you know what, we really ought to talk about mental health and depression and see if that helps someone. But I do feel like that this is can be encouragement for someone.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And so I know we've talked a lot, but there's a method to the madness. And anytime that somebody comes on and they're nervous or they're not sure what to talk about, it's one of the gifts that I got of just trying to keep conversation going and points and everything else. But I say all that to say this, because that's my thing to do. I would love to get you back, and go deeper into the story of what brought you there. And I think that's the beautiful part about having reoccurring guests and having people on is, one, now you know what it is.
Yeah.
It's not this big, huge closet demon that's going to grab you and, chase you down. And it is weird listening to yourself talk, but, it's the first phase. Because I know there are people who are going to go, I would like to hear more about that. I would like to do this. And we have an opportunity, not that it's about following, not that it's about building something and building an empire, but it's about being able to affect different people and impact their lives on so many different subjects and so many different levels. Yeah. I think that's the sweet sauce of this show, is that you have so many different unique people, but it all comes back to one thing. Hey, I've been through some trash in my life. And this is what I went through. This is how I got through it. This is where I'm at, and I'm still not through it.
Yeah.
And so I would really like for you to come back and do that, and we'll just carry it on again.
Okay.
And pick it up and go through it and talk through and start to dive deeper into different subjects and things and more examples. And
yeah, we didn't even get into my ADHD.
Right, exactly. And that is a huge thing. That's something I've never been diagnosed with it, but I got it.
Yeah,
I got it. If anybody's
you talk about something that a common thread is creative people.
Yeah.
Holy cow! But listen, I would like to say this on the off chance that there's anybody that might hear this and maybe think, you know what, that made a lot of sense to me, but I wouldn't even know where to start to talk to somebody about help and counseling, Christian or otherwise or whatever. Tell us, give us an email address, Casey, because we'd be happy to make some suggestions to someone not on the air like this, but in a personal message. So
this is one of the aspects of my life that I absolutely love, is I've been able to network and meet so many different wonderful people in my life.
Same.
And it's because of that I have the ability that if somebody goes, hey, I'm struggling with this, or I'd like to know more about this, that they put people like Angela in my life. So there's going to be somebody that comes across this show or something that we do, and they go, hey, I would really like to talk to Angela. about that. And so if you email me or Farron at the show, you can Farron at dothedamnshow.com or Casey at dothedamnshow.com.
Yeah, it's FARON for Farron, CASEY for Casey.
You can
Both
email
of those
us.
are at dothedamnshow.com.
Email us and just tell us, what's going on with you. And I promise you, for me, I'm not going to speak for Farron, but for me, I've got somebody that I can link you up with.
Sure.
That is not going to beat you over the head with a Bible
Sure.
and just tell you to get your life right. These people genuinely care for people. And I think I'm going to go on a limb and say that you wouldn't have a problem speaking with somebody or encouraging them
Not a bit.
to share similar stories to,
Yeah.
I don't think we take any shortcuts in life, but I do believe God puts people in our life that have been places
Definitely.
to encourage to get through a season because, if God pulls us out of kindergarten and puts us in 5th grade, we're going to fail. So there is a natural progression of going through character building and change and root cause development and all this other stuff. But to have people that are there side by side with you, going, "Hey, this is what I did. It's going to be okay. You're gonna get through this. You can get through this. You can, and you can do this and this and this."
Well,
is what it's all about.
One other disclaimer too, okay? If Angela does come back to talk about this at another time, and she talks about how much better her life has gotten, and she says, it's because she's married to me now.
It ain't got
'cause,
shit to do with you.
Well, August 6th is our 1-year anniversary.
Nice.
And it seems like she's just getting better and better as time goes, right? But here's the problem with that. I can't marry everybody. So, just because that's what helps Angela
Doesn't mean it's gonna
mean
help
that there's not
everybody.
some other thing that we could suggest that may help you. And thank both of you for not following that perfect setup up with.
I'm just going to
What do
say
you mean you can't marry everybody?
that would be the shortest episode of The Bachelor ever.
Because if
Hell, you tried.
I'm gonna call out a
that's
name
what he was
here.
waiting on.
I'm gonna call out a name here, Amy Garnett. If you're listening, there's no need to make a joke here, but I think you already did. Okay. Hey, are you going to ask Angela the?
Yes, I am.
The questions.
I am.
Yes,
So
do
we have
it, do
3
it.
questions.
Yeah.
I want to hear.
You're on a road trip, right? And you're stopping at a truck stop. Any truck stop, doesn't matter what it is. What are you coming out with?
Something sweet and salty. Probably ranch corn nuts.
Whoa, wait a minute.
And a candy bar.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yes,
You
it
never had
is,
ranch
and they're
corn
great.
nuts?
I've never had corn nuts.
What?
Never in my life.
Listen, man. If you like very savory, lots of flavor things that'll break your teeth, you don't know what you're missing.
They're very crunchy. Very crunchy.
Corn
And a
nuts.
diet drink.
Diet drink,
And a
corn
candy
nuts,
bar.
and a candy bar.
Yeah.
What's
Hey.
the best candy bar in the world? There's only one answer.
Score.
Score.
Yep.
The hell
Do they
is
even
a
make those
score?
anymore?
Yes, they do.
What is a score?
It's SKOR,
Heath.
right?
Well-
It's
Like
kind
a
of like a
Heath
Heath,
bar.
but it was a different brand. I mean, I remember them, but I ain't seen one in years.
Either way, the answer is wrong because
Score.
it's zero.
Let me
Zero
ask-
bar is the best candy bar on the
Well, if
face
you're
of the
going to get a
planet.
score, let me ask you this: if you got a headache, are you going to go in and ask for Anacin?
Innocent. Score is still around, man.
Hey, y'all got some aspirin?
Yeah. Or, did you ever see that Family Guy episode? Stewie's like, I got a headache. Do you have any Anacin? And Brian said, Anacin? Do they even make that anymore? Stewie said, I think so.
So go back to your favorite childhood memory. It's Christmas morning. You wake up. What's under the tree? That one thing.
Oh, this is funny because I heard this the other day. I heard this on the podcast and I got to thinking about it.
Hey, she listens.
I do.
It's better than Eric.
Well, she has to because she knows I'm going to keep asking until she says, yes, she did.
My favorite Christmas, and this is going to sound silly, but I got a house coat with an apple on the front that was a pocket.
Like a Steve Jobs apple or?
Yeah, like an apple. No, not an apple. Computer, no. This was the 80s,
I was going to
man.
say, hey, we have,
No, an
we have
apple fruit.
gone like Apple's making robes now.
This feels like
Yeah.
it's going to go down
But,
the road of that Dolly Parton song. That
Hey, I just want
No,
to
the
know.
other thing I got,
We are
though.
patenting iRobe. That is patented.
I didn't believe in, well, I guess I can say it on the show. I didn't believe in Santa anymore, so this was my first Christmas without Santa Claus. So my mom gives me cash.
Hey.
I got $50 in this robe. I got other stuff too, but that's what stood out in my mind.
Nice.
But I could spend it on whatever I wanted to.
Did you go buy another robe?
No, I got Barbies.
In my mind, it was if I got a robe with an apple on it, I wouldn't believe in Santa anymore either.
So I just want to
awesome.
say, she's the second person to say something about Santa.
I know. Jeremy did. Yeah, Jeremy
did
was
it.
like-
And I just got one thing to say. If you're upset because we disclosed Santa, then you probably shouldn't let your kids listen to a show called Do the
it's
Damn
got
Show.
an E.
Show, right.
We have an E next to it, right?
Yeah, it's got explicit.
I love that too. I'm like, hey, you should listen to our podcast, it's a Christian podcast. What's it called? Do the Damn Show. Oh, okay. Also, don't let your kids listen to it.
So, Angela, what's your message to the masses? The tombstone message.
Oh,
The one thing that if this was the last thing somebody heard you say, and they were going to cling to it, what would it be?
this is my motto.
No pressure.
No, this is my motto. I tell a lot of. I'm working with a lot of young kids right now in my job because I'm old and
Wait. Not young kids. Tell who what
they're
they.
25 years
Okay.
old.
They ain't kids.
That sound like you
They're
were a
my
kindergarten
kids.
teacher or
They're
something.
they're my children, my work children. But anyway, it's just go where the peace is.
Go
If it
where the
doesn't-
peace
If
is.
it doesn't bring you peace, and
Dude, that's a good shirt,
Yeah,
too.
that's a good one.
That's a
it
good
is-
shirt.
It's not, you can't produce peace in yourself. That's a God-given thing. And something today I was making a decision about, and I was explaining it to Farron. I was like, I just have peace about it. It could
Yeah.
go the wrong way,
Yeah,
but I have that peace.
that's awesome.
But
So that's going to be a T-shirt, too.
What
It
if
says-
she would have?
It's going to say "Go where the peace is," and it's going to say "OTF's wife," and in parentheses, Angela.
Hey, what if when you ask Angel that question about the tombstone, what if she would have started out by saying, "When recording
Recording drum
drums in the
tracks."
studio." Oh man,
That is fantastic. Well, Angela, thank you for being here.
thank y'all.
It's been
Thank y'all.
a pleasure. Looking forward to getting you back so we can expand on. Go ahead.
I get to go home with her.
You do get to go home
Yes,
with her.
sir.
She might leave you here.
Nah.
Nah. So, as always, we want to thank Primetime Lawn Care and Jason Such,
Yes,
where they
yes.
all rest on the seventh day. Jason has been a huge supporter for quite a long time. And if you need lawn care or lawn maintenance done, you can reach Primetime at 256-606-3064. We really need to come up with a Primetime jingle,
Oh, that'd be cool.
like a J.G. Wentworth
Yeah.
or a, what is it, Charles
we could-
Pittman?
if we could
is the
get
way
it-
to go. Yeah.
He sold out.
Did he really?
He sold out, but they got the same number.
Well, how about that?
If we could get Jason, change your phone number to 800-600-6014.
256-303-3064. So just remember to always be real, be you, and be salt. Go through today, love somebody, but before you do that, remember to always love yourself. Love you guys. We're out.
Yes, I lay here in my deathbed and my journey's to